Hey guys, what's going on? It's Matt, Transurban 43. In today's video, we have the second installment of the Lionel 21-inch Texas Special passenger cars. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Stationsounds diner car. So to understand all of the features and details of the car here, that would be something we'd have to watch my review video for the rest of the train that I did a little while ago. And in that video, I talked about all the features of the cars, the details and such, and you can really get a general idea of this car just by watching that video. I will go over like the interior details and stuff like that on this car, but it's mainly going to be about the features and the sound effects for the car. Now, something that I didn't do in the first video was go over the history of the real Texas Special passenger train. So in this video, that's what we're going to start off with. So let's talk about the history of the real train. Alright, so the Texas Special was a jointly operated passenger train by the Missouri, Kansas, Texas, or Katy Railroad, and the St. Louis, San Francisco Railway, the Frisco, and it was operated between St. Louis, Missouri and San Antonio, Texas from 1915 until 1959. And there were two sides to the Texas Special train. There was the steam side and the diesel side. Now, when the train was started in 1915, one of the benefits was that it created one of the shortest routes connecting the Texas financial centers to the east, which is really, really cool. Now, for the rolling stock for the train, it consisted of some steam locomotives. It had a Katy Pacific 462, a Frisco Northern 484, or a Frisco Mountain Type 482, and the passenger cars were heavyweight passenger cars. Then later on in 1947, the Texas Special was upgraded to diesel power, and it consisted of E7 diesels pulling 14-car trains with the sleek passenger cars like you see here. Now, because of the longer trains that were ran and the fact that they had two different sets of them, the train could run daily trips between St. Louis and San Antonio, departing at one city in the afternoon and arriving in the other the following afternoon, which is pretty cool. And they still used the steam engines a little bit, but then they started to get rid of them in favor for the diesels, and by 1950 all of them were gone. And in 1949 the Texas Special train was so popular that they purchased some Elko PAs and used them for the passenger train as well. At the height of the Texas Special passenger train, it offered service to New York City through the Pennsylvania's 14-4 sleeping cars, which is pretty cool. So if you want to get to New York City, you could do that by the Texas Special. In the mid-1950s, the passenger trains of the United States really took a big toll, and the Texas Special is no exception to that. So by 1959, the Frisco part of the Texas Special was gone and making its last trip on January the 4th of 59. And then the last run for the Texas Special train as a whole was on July 1st, 1965. Now, some of the passenger cars for the Texas Special were saved from the scrapper's torch, and some of them are private cars for use on railroads like Amtrak. And some of them are in museums, such as the Eugene Field car, and that one is in the Arizona Railway Museum. Pretty cool. So that basically takes care of the Texas Special history, so now we'll move on to the car and the sound effects. Again, like I mentioned a minute ago, I'm not going to go over every single detail of these cars. That's something you can watch the first video for. But let's take a brief look at this car, then we'll talk about the sound effects. The sides and ends of the car look really, really good. We have the full-length diaphragm back here, which looks really, really good. We have the self-adjusting coupler back here. We have a door. The door does not open, but it sure looks really good. We have the truck side frames down here. And then we also have the nameplate over here. Now, unlike all the other cars, this nameplate does not say the Katy on it. This says the reporting marks for the Frisco Railway. And the reason for this is because when I talked about the history, the Texas Special was a joint between the two railroads, and Lionel wanted to put the reporting marks for the Frisco Railway on there, and they did that. Pretty cool. If we were to move down the side of the car, this is what we see. Now right here in this section here, this is where the station sound electronics are. That's why it's blocked off. Now I like that it's blocked off so you can't see it, but the only thing I wish that the lights didn't continue in there. It looks a little weird, but that's just me. And then in the middle we have the Texas Special car name right here, and then we have the name of the diner car here. Alright, so now we'll take a look at some of the interior detail in the car, then we'll go ahead and listen to the sounds. Now just like all the other cars, I'm just going to roll the car down the line here. So you can see the inside part again right here. This is where the sound electronics are. Then in here you can see some of the detail. Let me zoom in on it a little bit. As you guys can see, it looks really, really good. So now we'll talk about these sound effects. Alright, so now we'll start talking about some of these sound effects. So first, let me go ahead and apply some track power. Alright, we got our track power on, so now we'll talk about these sounds. Okay, so on the remote, what we can do is we can go ahead and talk about the sound effects. So when we hit the aux 1 key to get everything running here, you can see the keypads. Let's talk about the controls on here. Alright, so let's start to talk about some of these buttons. Right here, these two, these control the volume level of the car. This one right here is the conductor sound. This one here turns these sound effects on if you shut them off. This one here turns them off. This one here is the next stop. This one here is the PA announcer. These two turn the car lights on and off. This one resets the car. And these buttons here turn off the track sounds, like the squealing and the scrapes and bumps and all that type of thing. So that's pretty cool there. Alright, so now let me power up the car. By default, the lights are off. Why? I don't know. So I'm going to go and turn them on now. So I just turned them on. Because of the capacitors, it takes a second for them to fire up, but you'll see them fire up momentarily here. So now we'll go ahead and play some of these sound effects. Now, depending on whether or not you press the aux 1 key, that will change the sound effects. And also, I should mention that the car has just been sitting here with the power onto it and it hasn't moved at all. If you move the car and then you hit the button, it'll change it. So what we'll do is we'll do it stationary like this now, and then we'll run it for a second, and then I'll do the buttons and everything will change. So I'm going to hit the aux 1 key and then the conductor, which is the number 2 button, and we'll hear these sound effects for that.
Easy there, hold to the railing.
Now I'm going to hit the conductor button but not press the aux 1 key, and you can hear what it sounds like now.
Folks, the Texas Special is departing. On aboard! All aboard! Mind the gap. All aboard!
So that's just a little sampling of the conductor sounds. That's really, really cool. So now we'll do the PA announcer. So we'll start by pressing the aux 1 and the 7 key, and we'll hear what that sounds like.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Texas Special has arrived.
Now we'll hit the button without pressing the aux 1 key, and we can hear what that sounds like.
Attention passengers, the Texas Special is now boarding.
one final sequence that you get once the car is stopped from moving is when you hit the conductor guy. He will say thanks for running the Texas Special, but what we'll do is we'll talk about that in just a second. But first what we'll do is we'll hook the cars up with the E units. I'll shut the sounds on the E units off, and what we'll do is we'll listen to the track sounds that the car makes when it's running. Alright, so let's roll this thing out of here. Cool sound effect is the one you can hear me activating right now. You can hear the air brakes. You use the train brake to do that. See how they're getting harder? If I let go, so now I'll bring this thing forward real quick and we'll hear the sound effect of the train arriving here.
Next stop, coming up. Next stop, folks. If this is your station, please move towards the door. Please gather your things and move towards the door.
Alright, give a listen to this.
Thanks for riding the Texas Special. Mind the gap.
So that's just a little sampling of some of the sound effects this car makes. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and run this car correctly. I'll do a station stop somewhere along the way here, and we'll run the car with the E units with the sound effects all the way up so you can hear what it sounds like when a train is running with it, and it's really, really cool. So we'll go ahead and take a little break and run the car with the train.
If this is your station, please you. Nice to see you again. Mind the gap.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Texas Special has arrived. Attention passengers, the Texas Special is now boarding.
All aboard the Texas Special. Watch your step there. All aboard! Easy there, hold to the railing.
Welcome aboard, and thanks for riding the Texas Special.
May I have your tickets? Tickets? Thank you, ma'am. Hey, buddy, I need to see that ticket.
So that was just a little sampling of some of the track sounds with the car, with the extra sound effects with the people in the diner car and all that. It's a really, really cool car. But now what I want to do is I want to do a little bit before and after. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to shut the sound effects on the sound car off and run the train as it would be without any sound effects with it, and then I'll turn the sound effects back on. You can really hear that it's a big, big difference. So let's do that.
Next stop, folks. If this is your station, please move towards the door.
So as you guys can hear, it really makes a big difference with the sound car. It really adds a whole different dimension to the train because, you know, when the engine passes by, basically all you hear is the clicky clack of the cars traversing the track. But with this car here, you get the squeals, the scrapes, and all the other cool sound effects, and it's really, really cool, and it really, really is just amazing. And I tell you, when we first got this car out, both me and my uncle, we were stunned, to say the least. We were just in awe, basically, because this thing is really, really cool. Now, I didn't get every last sound effect out of this thing. Like, some of the sound effects, like with the people in the diner car, there's this little kid that is in there, and when he talks, when you get the sound effect with that, it's really, really funny. So maybe I'll try to do another video on this car where you can hear some of the other sound effects that I missed. But it's really, really cool, and it, like I said, it makes the train just come to life, and it's really, really awesome. If you're interested in purchasing this car here, it retails for $300, which is a touch expensive considering that the two-car set, it retails for the same price. But then again, if you think about it, you're getting a car that has sound effects in it. So, I mean, it's worth it, at least in my opinion. So, that's going to do it for this video. If you guys want to see more on this car, just let me know. So, but that's going to do it for this video here. I'm Matt, Translator 943. Guys, have a great one. Take it easy, guys.